Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hi, this is Dr. Kenneth Muich, Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, and thank you very, very much for joining us. And make sure you bring all your family and friends and doctors for this wonderful discussion. We're going to be talking about the fibromyalgia protocol that has been very, very successful in our clinic for over 30 years. It's just wonderful. There's so many people that fibromyalgia patients that are living what we would call normal lives, pain-free, being able to plan on doing something tomorrow or next week, or actually having a calendar in front of them and planning things long distance as far as time is concerned. And I learned that from a patient who came in, and halfway through her protocol, she mentioned, guess what I can do now? And I always keep track of what patients are doing and what they can't do. And I was frustrated. I didn't know exactly what she was talking about. And I was thinking about, well, maybe golf, maybe, walking, maybe just getting out of bed pain-free. And I'm kind of shaking my head. And she says, I can plan on something tomorrow and next week and know I can do it. Isn't that exciting? I mean, really, we all that are of, I guess, normal health have plans. Our calendars are filled all the way, I guess, many of us to the end of the year, or maybe even longer, what you're going to be doing next year. And yet fibromyalgia patients are not like that. And I suffer with you to know that you're not able to do that. It's a day-to-day experience as far as when you get up, you're going to be healthy enough to do things or not. It's just got to be very, very frustrating for you, and I feel very, very sadly about that. So that's why we try to reach as many patients as we can and to help them. So we're going to go over the protocol and some changes that I have found over a number of years that will make a big difference possibly while you're on the protocol, or if you're interested in going on it. The first thing we do is actually we place the patients once they've been diagnosed properly, let's put it that way, that they have fibromyalgia. And we take a thorough history to spend a lot of time, at least an hour on each patient when they first come in, to find out about their situation, their symptoms, their condition, their secondary conditions, and so forth and so on. So that once we place them on the program, we started out with the pre-protocol, and that is a detox or really an anti-inflammatory program because most fibromyalgia patients are not very, very active. They've got multiple conditions, and the one thing I realized that I could really help fibromyalgia patients so that they could get to the next level would be to remove a lot of inflammatory things that they are actually ingesting, taking into their diet. So the detox is for the liver and kidneys because of the inflammatory response that's built up, and also the medications. I've mentioned to you how many patients come in and they give me an 8.5 by 11 filled with medications that they're taking, and a lot of those cross over and don't help each other. Almost all of them have secondary side effects that fibromyalgia patients have as far as their symptoms are concerned. So why would you be taking medication that would be making your actual symptoms and condition worse? So we get that straightened out so that we can reduce the inflammation and having the patient start eating properly. So what we take is the sugar, gluten, trans fatty acids, and dairy out of everybody's diet. That's something I take you home. I don't go home with you. I send you home with this information. You have to do it. Many patients have failed because they're not ready to get well. They can't stay away from donuts, or they can't stay away from Coca-Cola in the morning. I mean, they can't stay away from things that they're actually poisoning them and actually causing a worsening of their symptoms. And so they will fail because you want to make sure you want to get healthy. You have to be sick and tired of being sick. And so the first thing we do is we put you on a temporary detox. And we take this garbage out of your system. Temporary for about 2 weeks. Okay? That's about 2 weeks. That means you can't have certain things that you're addicted to that are causing the inflammation. A lot of the addicted things that you're, like I say, required, your body is calling for, are also inflammatory. And so if we get rid of the addictive things, the inflammation will also go down. So again, we remove sugar, gluten, trans fatty acids, and dairy out of your diet. Now you might say, well, I eat gluten and I don't have any problem. Okay, but you don't know until you really take it out of your system for about 2 weeks, and then you add one item every 72 hours or every 3 days. Why 3 days? Because from mouth to evacuation is about 65 hours. So rather than say 65 hours, I just say 3 days, okay? So if you want to add, say, for example, bread as the first thing, okay? Then during those first 3 days of that, you can eat as much bread as you want to, but you write down on the sheet of paper what kind of reaction you have. Most people have a reaction literally within 15 minutes, okay, or an hour. All right, so we have them write down what the reaction is. And again, the reactions are just like the seven dwarfs: itchy, scratchy, sneezy, dopey, headachy, bloaty, irritable bowel, all sorts of things that can actually happen very, very quickly to you. We also have you wait for 3 days because, again, from mouth to evacuation is about 65 hours. So we want to make sure not only how it's going in, this food, but also how if it's coming out. So you may have constipation or diarrhea. So you have to know about that because you don't want to be eating foods that are just making your condition worse. So after the 2 weeks, obviously, we actually can start on a secondary program. But during this pre-protocol, we not only put you on a restricted diet, so to speak. It's not a diet that people say, oh, we're going to die and so forth. It's really loaded with fruits and vegetables and all sorts of good things: chicken, fish, shellfish, turkey, unless you know you can't eat some of this. If you are allergic to shellfish, don't eat it. If you're allergic to a vegetable, I always use the example asparagus, then don't eat it, okay? That's the key. I have a list of all those foods that I know are not inflammatory for the vast majority of people, but everybody is a little bit different, so you have to know what foods you already cannot ingest. Then check them. Don't eat them, okay? You're not gonna starve. You're not going to go through traumas, but you will have, if you are addictive to some of the foods, you will have a reaction. You might get a headache. You may feel jittery and so forth. We're pulling you off the addictive foods, okay? You have to do that. You have to know what's not good for you. You could spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 on high cost testing that will test everything from your tires on your car to whether or not a grape, the outside of the grape or the inside of the grape is inflammatory for you. I'm doing it the easy way, okay? So as you go along, after 2 weeks, you start adding one food, like I say, every 72 hours to find out what foods are actually bad for you. During this period of time of pre-protocol, we place patients on high levels of omega-3. That's fish oil. It's a natural anti-inflammatory, believe it or not. It stops the brain from producing chemicals that produce prostaglandins, which is your primary source of inflammation and pain in the body. So omega-3 is excellent for you, but you have to take a certain amount for it to work. You can't just take one-a-day vitamins. I've talked about this before. You have to take at least 3,000 milligrams of the omega-3, and we have that product for you. There's certain things that I require patients that they have to be on. Not going to CVS or Walgreens and getting 1,000 of them for $10 or $20. No, these are pure products that we're using, okay? The omega-3 has many beneficial aspects. The primary for a fibromyalgia patient is that it is an anti-inflammatory. We also place patients on what is called magnesium, which stimulates the mitochondria, the ever-ready batteries in your cells, to produce energy, ATP. That's why you have so much fatigue, because the mitochondria are not producing enough ATP. So that's going to help neutralize that fatigue factor. We also give patients something called malic acid. Have you ever heard of an apple day keeps the doctor away? Well, that's what malic acid is. Malic acid, believe it or not, is from apples, the Latin term malum, which is a natural anti-inflammatory. Why? Again, for the overall inflammatory response fibromyalgia patients are on, but also because every fibromyalgia patient that I've come in for the 30 plus years has secondary conditions. You just don't have fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia makes everything worse. So that malic acid is actually for also the secondary aspects along with the omega-3, again, both anti-inflammatory. Because you've been inactive for so long, your body's lean tissue turns into fat. And that fat is not only around your waist and so forth, but also around your organs, and that's inflammatory. So what we do is we place patients temporarily on something called CLA, conjugated linoleic acid. Very, very gentle. It goes in and it burns fat off your body if you're active or not. This is very, very important for fibromyalgia patients. We want to get that fat started burning off your body, okay? So that when you start getting active, it's already there and you'll burn actually more fat off. Almost every patient we've had on here has lost a tremendous amount of fat weight, garbage, so to speak. Some 30, 40 pounds, as a matter of fact. I mean, that's how aggressive this is as far as to take care of you in a healthy way, so to speak, without starvation. So those things are primarily for the pre-protocol. Once you're finished with that pre-protocol, it actually cleans out a lot of things so that the secondary actual program itself, the guaifenesin program, will work much more easily for you, so don't have to fight through all of this other garbage, so to speak. So the aspect that we're talking about here is, first of all, the omega-3. I found that some patients, because of the toxicity, we cannot just give them a normal amount. So, and again, this is not a 100-yard dash, this pre-protocol. Sometimes it takes a little longer depending upon how toxic you are. If you're toxic, like some patients really come in, they have a lot of things going on, they've had fibro for a long time, that 2-week period might last longer just because of the fact that we're trying to get this inflammatory response down. We do place patients on a very gentle detox, and it's a powder that they drink. I take it every day, and it helps me stay regular, and it gets rid of a lot of garbage out of your system just from living and all of the allergies and all of the dust and dirt and the food we eat and all the garbage that we're ingesting into our body. So it's a slow process for each individual. It's not one of those things that we're just going to rush through. Every individual is different, and so we try to establish a program for each individual. How much of the detox would they take? How much of the omega-3 they take? How much of the magnesium they take? So it might be like eating an apple, a bite at a time. We don't expect you to swallow the whole apple. And that's one of the big things that we've learned over a period of time. Again, every body is different and every condition is different. So what we do is we actually set the program up so it fits the individual, which I think is of most importance. Now, as far as the guaifenesin is concerned, and that is obviously from Dr. St. Amand, guaifenesin pulls the excess phosphate and calcium out of your cells and you urinate it out. Once you first start it, oftentimes there is a negative reaction that we are looking for. Geez, I hate to say it because, you hate to hear a doctor say you're going to feel worse before you feel better. But that's what guaifenesin does. It pulls the excess phosphate and calcium out, goes out of the cells, goes into your bladder, and the bladder then goes right into urinary tube where you're urinated out of your system. But it all doesn't come out at the same time. What happens is that some of that goes back into the cells, that excess phosphate and calcium. It kind of shocks your body, and so you have a reaction. We're looking for that. That's what we're looking for to let us know that you're taking guaifenesin properly. Now, how much do you take? Well, it was originally set at 300 milligrams twice a day, but we found that that might be too much for patients. So we actually, for many patients, we don't know what kind of reaction they're going to have. I mean, the reaction might be no reaction. We might leave them on that for a little while to see if they have a reaction. A reaction is what I said, is you're going to have something where you're going to feel off, maybe like flu symptoms, like achy sore, maybe a little headache, a part of the detox, so to speak. That's telling us that it's working. But if you don't have that reaction, then we should increase it. But for some people, 300 milligrams might be just enough that they have to take to get a reaction. If that's true, then we can add another 300 on. I have many patients, and I think I've gone over this before. Again, every patient's different. It might be 300 in the morning, it might be 600 in the evening. It might be 600 in the morning, 300 in the evening. It might be 300 in the morning, 900 in the evening. So it's one of those things that we try to balance and find out what works best for each individual. So we don't have just a cookie cutter form of program. Every patient has a different type of program, even though it's based upon the same square, so to speak, as far as what it entails. So the pre-protocol itself is very, very important to get rid of the inflammatory materials out of your system, and also break that addictive cycle that requires you to have certain foods that we know are bad for you. But Again, the foods that we request you to take, you have to know what you can and cannot take. Just because it's on a list, again, if you know you can't eat shellfish, then don't eat it, okay? That's the most important thing, to know what you already are having a problem with. As far as the omega-3, again, it starts out with a certain amount, and then we increase it over a period of time just to make sure that we're not causing an overreaction with patients. Same thing with conjugated linoleic acid, although we've never had any patient have a problem with that fat burner, so to speak. We just have them take it only during the pre-protocol period to get the body acclimated to burning fat off the system. Once that pre-protocol is over with, then the CLA is not taken anymore. The magnesium is important again. We should not overtake too much magnesium. Only like 500 milligrams a day, because more than that you will get diarrhea. So we have to watch exactly how much you take as far as that is concerned. Again, we have the pure products in our clinic to make sure that you're taking things that we know have worked in the past and not something that just is kind of thrown together. There's a lot of there's a lot of health companies out there, not only pharmaceuticals, that really don't follow the rules of actually cleaning out everything and starting all over again to reproduce a new product. So you may get other products in with your magnesium or something that might not be advantageous for you and should not be called for. As far as the program itself is concerned, the salicylate reduction, you have to stay off of all salicylates, okay, acetylsalicylic acid, all that are supplemental types and or cosmetics that go onto your skin, that's absorbed into your skin. That will block the guaifenesin from working. You can eat anything that you want to that's a salicylate. Any plant, you want lettuce, you want any kind of greens, whatever else, great. Eat it. That's no problem, because the liver will break that down so it doesn't have an adverse effect. And because we've already put you through a liver and kidney detox, it'll be so much more gentle, so to speak. So the key that I'm trying to get at is that we have a program. It's very, very successful. But every patient that comes in might be a little bit different, so we make sure that we set the program up for that individual so that you're just not a number, so to speak. So patients have, many times they'll come in and say, how much guaifenesin are you taking, so forth and so on. And it might differ. But they understand that the reason why is because they are different. They're different from any other patient that comes in. It's about time that you got on this program. If you've been suffering for years with fibromyalgia, it's a time. I mean, after 30 plus years of so many clinical successes, we know what we're doing. We know how it helps. We're here for you at Fibromyalgia Wellness Center in Scottsdale, Arizona. I don't really push too much for a sale in itself, the sales to have patients come in. But after so many years, I know it works. I know I can help you. If you're not doing this, or if you did it and it's wrong, you did it wrong. Maybe you read Dr. St. Aman's book and you're trying to follow it. Can't do that. You need an individual to work with you as far as the overall program, how to map properly, how to diagnose properly, how to add and delete certain things to what we're already taking as far as the program is concerned. So, Stetson Chiropractic Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, available for you. It's not a chiropractic program. Okay, it just so happens that's the name of the clinic, Stetson Chiropractic / Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, that we work out of, and we work very, very successfully. Once you have committed, and once we've decided to accept you, we do everything we can to follow up and make sure that your program and protocol is a success so that you can start living a life of enjoyment again. Thank you so very, very much. October 6th and 7th. We will be having our training session for doctors in Scottsdale, Arizona, to help train doctors hopefully in your area. But in the meantime, you can reach us through Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, or my clinic number is 480-948-4955. 480-948-4955. Look forward to seeing you next week with more information on fibromyalgia. And again, we are here to help you, and it's time for you to stop suffering, really. Thank you so very, very much. Have a great week. See you Monday, 12:30 next week. Bye-bye.